Muy buenas tardes a todas las personas que empiezan a unirse a nuestra sesión informativa del día de hoy, 25 de junio. Mucho gusto, mi nombre es Karen Martínez, parte del equipo de Consejería Académica y Relaciones Internacionales de Colfuturo, y el día de hoy estamos con Chalmers University of Technology, ubicado en Suecia. Estoy muy bien acompañada el día de hoy con Avilash, él es representante de esta institución académica y nos va a hablar de una gran variedad de temas de gran interés para ustedes relacionados con oferta académica, financiación, becas, hospedaje y bueno, todas las recomendaciones que desde su experticia considere útiles para ustedes que están empezando este proceso de identificación de programas de posgrado en el exterior. También tenemos el honor de contar con la participación de Andrés Blair y Natalia Agudelo. Ellos son estudiantes colombianos en esta universidad y van a compartir con nosotros toda su experiencia y pues los consejos que también consideren que les sean a ustedes de muchísima utilidad. Realizamos estas sesiones informativas en el marco de todo el establecimiento de nuestros convenios con diferentes instituciones alrededor del mundo. El convenio que tiene Colfuturo con Chalmers University of Technology consta y se caracteriza por ofrecer 2 becas del 25% en programas de maestría, 2 becas de sueco en 6 meses y 2 becas de Student Union Membership Fee. Así que son beneficios que sin duda alguna valen muchísimo para que ustedes los puedan aprovechar en este espacio. Quiero recordarle a todos que este es el lugar ideal para que puedan resolver todas sus inquietudes, así que no duden en dejar en el cajón de Q&A las preguntas que vayan surgiéndoles y yo con muchísimo gusto se las voy a formular a Abelash o a Andrés y a Natalia en este caso. Entonces, sin mayor preámbulo, Abelash, thank you so much for being here today. Natalia, Andrés, thank you so much. We are so happy to have you here with us. You can go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Karen, and thank you very much to Colfuturo. So my name is Abhilash, and I would like to first and foremost welcome you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm going to be using the next 25 minutes to present to you the university, its history, the programs we have, the opportunities you have when it comes to funding. And of course, we're going to have Andres and Natalia also expressing their thoughts on their experiences, both at studying at Chalmers and of their career in Sweden. So without further ado, let's get moving on the presentation. So this is, of course, our presentation for you, Colombia and Colombian students. We were started in 1829 by a man called William Chalmers. So Chalmers is one of the very few private universities in Sweden. And despite the fact that we are private, we still follow the legal requirements that public universities have. So we are not very different from public universities in Sweden from that perspective. The advantage of being a private university is that we get better funding and we are able to do better things and different things compared with public. We're able to experiment with things that other universities may not be able to do. We have about 40 master's programs, and those are 2-year programs. They are full-time programs and they are taught in English. And we have about 3,000 master students out of about 10,000 total number of students. Of those 3,000 students, about 1,000 are internationals and about 500 are exchange students. We have 2 campuses. We'll talk about campus locations later on. And then, of course, we have about 3,000 people working at Chalmers. That includes professors, PhD students, and people like me. If we move on, we want to talk a little bit about the university's general structure, and that is that we conduct research and education in technology, natural science, and a variety of other areas such as engineering and architecture, maritime management, maritime studies, and entrepreneurship. We do all of this with a mind about the future of humanity, for the benefit of humanity, with sustainability in mind. So we have 17 sustainable goals that have been brought forward by the United Nations. And what we want to do is, of course, implement and include those goals of sustainability into our education and our research. So you will notice when Natalia speaks and when Andres speak that they will include some information about how they experienced sustainability on campus. Where is Chalmers located? Well, Sweden is a very large country, but you'll notice that a lot of the universities are located down south, and Gothenburg is where Chalmers is located. Gothenburg is the second largest city in Sweden. It is on the west coast of Sweden, and it has about 600,000 inhabitants. So it is not very big compared with Colombian cities, but in Sweden, it is still the second largest city. It is a combination of an old and a new city because the city was actually founded in 1621. So we are 400 years old. It is also a big city in a small city, so to speak. So I like to describe Gothenburg as a compact city, but it is a big city at the same time. You can walk anywhere, you can take a bike and ride it anywhere, but still, geographically, it is very large. And this is usually experienced in the nature we have. The amount of green space per person is very large. It's about 300 square meters of green space per person. I live not very far from here. In fact, if I walk about 15 minutes from here in a southern direction, from this very spot where I'm sitting, I will reach my apartment. And if I continue in that direction another 15 minutes, I will be in the middle of a forest. And I'm still in the city center, as we would call it. So Chalmers is located in the middle of the city, more or less, and we are still very close to nature. There are lots of parks and things like that. Lots of open spaces. We have, because we are on the west coast, we also have a number of islands off of our coast, which means that public transport takes you to these islands. And public transport includes the buses, the trams, sometimes trains, and even the boats that will take you to these islands. There are bike lanes all over the city, as I was talking about, and there's a very international and lively culture in the city because of the fact that we have so many different kinds of companies that are located in Gothenburg. I think my computer is a bit stuck. There we are. So these are some pictures from the city. You will notice that we have sometimes, of course, snow. That's what it looks like in Christmas. All the lights come up and so on and so forth. There will be some, we'll experience all the four seasons in Gothenburg. As I was saying, there are a lot of companies located in Gothenburg. So the Gothenburg region is one of the most expansive regions in Europe. It is a hotbed for innovation and entrepreneurship. Every fifth employee works for an international company in the city, and there are big companies like Volvo, SKF, AstraZeneca, Ericsson, and a whole bunch of others. Natalia works at SKF, so she will speak a little bit about that. We are located in one of the best logistics locations in Sweden, so there's a lot of trade that happens here, which means a lot of companies have interactions with universities here. And Chalmers is the only technical university in the city and for this region, which means basically that pretty much every technical company in the area actually interacts with us and does research with us. A little bit about Sweden, just so we put all of this in context. There are about 10 million people living in Sweden. There are about 5,000 nature reserves in Sweden and about 39 outstanding universities, of which Chalmers is one. Sweden is also a country that is famous for gender equality and equity and things like that. We are famous for having a lot of these kinds of policies in place that include things like parental leave and trying to close the gender gap when it comes to equality of pay and things like that. So 13 out of 24 ministers are women, 480 days of parental leave, 98% of Swedes feel promoting gender equality is important for a fair society. We're number one on the gender equality index and things like that. So there's a consensus and an importance given to that aspect of society, which you will experience when you come to Sweden. You will experience that this place is a place that is very warm and welcoming. It's a very green place, as I was telling you. 300 square meters of green space per person is not easy to access, but here it's very easy to access. Sometimes even the sky gets green. Last year in May, we had northern lights here in Gothenburg, and I was for the first time seeing them down here south. That's how bright it can get sometimes. And of course, we also have boats that I told you, right? They take you across the canal, because in Gothenburg we have a river that runs through the city, and sometimes that boat trip is actually for free. You don't even have to pay for public transport on this boat, for example. We also live by sustainability. As I told you earlier, we are famous for sustainability, and we have so many different kinds of packaging that is recycled. So it's like the number of recycling bins that I've experienced in Sweden is out of this world. I sometimes do not understand how people can know all of these different things, but you will find information everywhere. Even products are labeled saying you have to sort this as a paper packaging, or you have to sort this as plastic packaging. And in fact, I've noticed that our butter, right? So when we buy butter, the packaging actually tells you to separate the paper part and the plastic part, so that the plastic goes as plastic packaging and the paper goes as paper pack. Moving on, still slow. We have a video here, so I'm going to play the video. It's going to be 1.5 minutes. Arturo, the boy you see on the picture, is from Mexico, and then the girl that you see is going to be from Thailand.
I came to Chalmers because Chalmers is...
I think the audio did not pick up, did it? Did you hear it? Ah, okay.
I came to Chalmers because Chalmers is really open to international students and it focuses on sustainability.
Chalmers is a great opportunity for students interested in doing research for their master's or PhD, because it doesn't only have great facilities and labs, but also there's a strong linkage between the industry and academia.
I feel like Chalmers give me the opportunity and the skill set and experience that I actually need for the real world. Like the science park in Chalmers Lindholmen is really connected with companies. These companies will come in and give the lecture on their projects, their employability that they offer for students.
Gothenburg is also a great city because in 30 minutes you can be close to the ocean or in the forest, so it's perfect to have a getaway.
There's a lot of cafes in town that is really nice to visit, and like I started getting habits of people of Gothenburg, like going for fika. It's really nice to be here and fit in like really easily.
Doesn't matter which culture you come from or which religion, the staff and the teachers and everyone encourages it for you to feel welcome and feel safe and feel at home.
I would say Chalmers gave me a really great experience. I get to learn new things, new cultures, and I get to feel like my world is more wider than it is.
Studying at Chalmers makes me feel very proud because I feel Chalmers is shaping the student's mind in order to pursue a better tomorrow and a better future for everyone.
There we go. That was a warm video. Let me see if I can move the slide. It seems like I'm unable. There we are. So here are some of the things that you need to know when applying to a university abroad, especially for us, because because you are applying, probably you are thinking about going to different countries. It's important to know the differences in the different systems and things like that. So if it's a different country university, there will be different ways of applying. Different university means that you will also have different choices of programs and how they name those programs. What you're used to in terms of naming programs might not be what you will see on a website from a different university. So it's good for you to kind of have an open mind and check out different programs so that you know what it is that those programs actually stand for, even if the name doesn't sound interesting to you. A very good example for us is that when students ask for artificial intelligence, we have 4 different programs that include aspects of artificial intelligence, if not diving deep into that topic. But very often what happens is people get stuck on the name data science and AI, which is one program that we have. So 1 out of 4 programs gets much more attention because the name seems to indicate that it is the only program with artificial intelligence, and that is not true. So it's a good thing for you to kind of know that programs are named differently. And so there will also be different scholarships associated, and those scholarships may have different application procedures as well. So this is a set of ground rules that I think would be useful for you to kind of keep in mind. So what programs could you apply to at Chalmers? We have, as I said, about 40 programs. These are the different programs we have, and the bold titles that you see are logical groupings of programs. They are not departments, they are simply logical groupings. So we believe that logically, biomedical engineering, information and communication technology, sustainable electric power engineering and electromobility, embedded electronic system design, and wireless photonics and space engineering are programs that should fall logically under the title electrical engineering. It doesn't necessarily belong to the department of electrical engineering. This is important for you to know because when you click on the program on our website, you will see that there might be another department that it is connected, right? So it's good for you to know that this is a set of programs. So all the names under the bold titles are where you will find the program names. And of course, these names might change in the future. We are actually currently looking at changing our master programs for the 2027 intake, which means that starting next year, there will be a set of new programs to apply for, not for this year, right? So this year in October, you will see this list for the application period. And next year for the 2027 intake, when you start applying in October, that time there will be a different set of programs. Here is the other set of page number 2. So you have other groupings here as well. So physics, mathematics, and environment is one grouping with about 6 programs or 4 programs under it. So for you, I think it's important that you remember and go to chalmers.se/masters. It's a good thing for you to bookmark that page, because that is where you will find those 39 programs. And that is where you can read about all of those different programs. Like I said, the names might not tell you exactly what's inside it. So it's good for you to check what is inside those programs before deciding where you go. The academic year at Chalmers is also kind of different. We don't do a semester thing. What we do is a quarter thing. So you'll see these things called study period 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the first semester, as you might have it, is for us divided into 2 study periods. And there is a second set of 2 study periods in your spring semester, right? And the total number of credits that you collect during this year will be 60 credits, which means at the end of 2 years, you will collect 120 credits. At the end of your second year, you will do a master's thesis. It is also possible for you to do a full year thesis, which means that you will do a thesis for 60 credits. Very often, the people who do 60 credit thesis are those that are looking to be following an academic career and start a PhD. If you're doing a 30 credit thesis, which is a half-year thesis, then you usually do it at a company, and that usually leads to employment at that same company. Because they already know you, they've already seen you, they understand that you do a good job, they might just hire you. And you can see that at the end of each of these study periods, there's a small break. That is where usually you will have your exam. One curious thing about Swedish education system, and especially at Chalmers, is that you are allowed to fail. And your failures don't show up anywhere. So that means that you can rewrite your exams as many times as you want. And even if you pass the exam, you can rewrite it. And you can rewrite it as many times as you want. There are re-exams every now and then, and you are allowed to rewrite your exams. The reason for this is that learning is what is important, not the question of whether you passed or failed. Did you learn what you wanted to learn? Are you satisfied? So even if you pass, you can rewrite the exam because you may not feel satisfied with your score or with what you learned. And here is where students usually ask the question, what happens if I fail the second time I write the exam? Or I get a lower score than my first score the second time or the third time I write it? You will always keep your highest score. Always. Whatever your highest score is, that's the one that shows up on your transcript. So you will never go downwards. You can only keep going up. That's something that's important. Summer holidays usually happen now. So at this point in time, it's very bright outside. It's summer starting for us. So June to August, September is when it's going to be vacation period. So about 3 months of vacations you get. And similarly, you'll also have a winter vacation that happens sometime between December and January, including Christmas. In the summer holidays, students will choose to either go through a summer job. So they'll find a summer job. Usually sometime in December, they'll start trying to find a summer job. And by June, July, they'll start working at these jobs. And then they'll come back to studies in September. Then there are, of course, those students that take the opportunity to travel and see Europe because they have a Schengen visa. Or they will go back home and spend time with their family and so on and so forth. So you can choose how to spend these weeks and months that you have. Of course, there's also going to be a possibility for you to do projects during your studies. There will be project work and internships and things like that. Just keep in mind that internships don't always come with academic credit. They might be included as part of your studies or might be something you need to find on your own, but they don't always come with academic credit. So they don't always add to your 60 credits that you are accumulating during your study. Next, we come to our rankings. So we are 165 on the global rankings and 51 to 100 on the engineering ranking. So we are an engineering university. We don't have law and medicine and things like that. And many universities that are top 100 and things like that on the general ranking usually have a comprehensive education, whereas we have a very focused education. It's only engineering and architecture that we do. So we try to look at the engineering list very often. 51 to 100 is where we usually fall on the different subject areas. But even then, when you look at how we fare within Europe and within the Nordic region, you'll notice we are number 1 on the Leiden ranking list that looks at how well a university publishes in collaboration with industry. And this is very important for you because that means that shows how good we are with industry collaboration. We have a very strong collaboration with industry. We also have a very high ranking on what is that called? It's called employability. I'm sorry, I lost my words. I wanted to run through a little bit about the costs of studying here. So we'll start with living costs, go on to fees, and then talk about scholarships. Living costs are about 10,000 Swedish crowns to about 13,000 Swedish crowns. That's what you see in the pesos conversion over there. So 5 million is the max that you go to, 5.5 million. And then we have all the breakdown that you see. The cost of living can, of course, change depending on your lifestyle. So you can, of course, make it much cheaper than the 10,000 mark. Most often our students, and I think Andres and Natalia might give you a little bit of an insight into how much they paid as a student, how much their cost of living was as students, because as employees, one has a salary and then one's cost of living usually goes up a little bit. But as a student, you can live a rather cheap life because usually accommodation, which is the biggest component of your living expenses, is usually very cheap. So let's look at fee. There are 2 kinds of fees that you'll be paying. One will be the application fee. The other will be the fee that you will pay for studying at Chalmers. So the tuition fee. The application fee is a fee that you pay when you make an application. And in that fee, you are able to apply for up to 4 programs. And that is 900 Swedish crowns. That's basically 365,500 pesos. We have 36 engineering programs and 2 architecture programs. The architecture programs are a little costlier than the engineering programs. Both of them are connected to, so all the 39 programs, 38 English taught programs that we have are connected to the Col Futuro scholarship that we have, which means that you only pay a certain amount lower than the original amount. Basically, the scholarship offers you 1 semester for free. It's a 25% waiver, which means that it is a 1 semester that's gone out of the 4 semesters that you're paying fees for. The reason I say it that way is because your invoice is sent to you per semester. As you can see over here, the invoice is sent each semester. So what scholarships do we have? We have our own scholarships in addition to the one that we have with Col Futuro. We have 75% scholarships and 100% scholarships, and these are all applicable to fee-paying students. And I need to make sure that you understand what fee-paying students are, because Colombian students sometimes have dual citizenship, and that second citizenship might be from Europe. If you have a European citizenship, then you are eligible for studying for free in Sweden, and therefore also at Chalmers. But if you are not with a second citizenship from Europe, that means that you will have to pay fees. And in that case, you can apply for these 4 different kinds of scholarships. We have the Adlerbert scholarship, which is a 100% waiver. Avance, which is our motto. That scholarship is 75%. Poet is also a 75% scholarship. And then we have the SISGP, or the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals, which is a full scholarship, including the cost of living. So that means that it is a very large scholarship. And what does it look like for the Chalmers Heart Scholarship, Chalmers Heart Col Futuro Scholarship? It's a 25% scholarship. It is offered to 2 students who are admitted to Chalmers with Col Futuro funding. And then, of course, it is equivalent to, as I was saying, 1 full semester of fees, and the scholarship covers the full period of studies, which means that during those 4 semesters, you will get a 25% discount on each semester instead of just getting a 0 on 1 semester. You will get a 25% discount on each semester. So it's good for you to bookmark our scholarships page, which is chalmers.se/scholarships. You will read more about the Col Futuro scholarship also over. This is how our timeline looks. So basically, the application opens in October. In the middle of October, the application opens, and then you will see that we have the ending of the application in mid-January. What's missing here is perhaps the different months that you see in the middle, and that's because nothing really much is happening over there other than you may be doing something. So between October and January, you will be making an application, and the earlier you make the application, so the closer you are to the middle of October and making your application, the better the chances you have of fixing any errors in your application. So my recommendation to you is to right now start looking at what documents you need to bring, what documents you need to submit, and preparing those documents and keeping them ready so that when the application opens, which will happen on the 16th of October, all you need to do is create an account on the website that you need to make an account on, and then submit your application, and you will be done. So if you collect the money, you collect your documents, you are ready. Same thing goes for the scholarships. It opens in the middle of November, and then both of these end in middle January. So we are not waiting for admissions results to make scholarship applications. We are making our scholarship applications when and during the master's application happen. In the beginning of February, there is a deadline for documentation. It's a grace period that is given to you so that if you are making an application that is close to January, then you will be still having about 10 days to submit your documentation and pay that application fee. In the end of March, beginning of April, you'll get your results. In the beginning of May, you will have a deadline for tuition fee payment. And so with Col Futuro, what happens is that you will have to pay your fees first to us, and then you will get your results from Col Futuro, and then we will reimburse you the money. In mid-June, between May and June, we will have some pre-departure activities, and then you will start making your plans as far as your residence permit, your visa to Sweden is concerned, finding housing, and so on and so forth. That happens after mid-June. So around now is when students start working on their residence permits, on their housing, and things like that. And we guarantee housing for you. And then, of course, at the end of August, you will have your orientation week, and the September beginning is when your semester will start. And you can find more information about this on chalmers.se/keydates. It'll get updated when we have the new semester application period starting, that is in October, and of course, how to apply as well. These are the things that you need to have when you make an application. You will be making an application using your certificates, your transcripts, proof of English proficiency, syllabus for specific requirements only. So we do not want your full syllabus. We do not want Harry Potter and Lord of Rings and all of that. Well, the full volume, we don't want that. What we want is only the subjects that we have asked for as the prerequisites of the program that you're submitting your application for. So simply show us only those subjects that are relevant to your prerequisite. Document that states your citizenship. As I was saying, this is only to identify whether you are a fee-paying student or not. This is neither stored nor used in any other way. So it's only to identify whether you're a fee-paying student or not. And once that status has been stored, then your documentation for identification is not used anymore. CV, project portfolio, especially if you're applying to one of our design programs. So the architecture programs and the industrial design program require your portfolio. If you're applying for a scholarship, you will need a motivation letter. Then there will be some work certification, some letter of recommendation, and of course the fees on universityadmissions.se, which is the website where you are making this application. So as I was saying, English requirements, we have 2 common tests, which are IELTS and TOEFL. There are a bunch of other tests that we accept. So you can find more information about that on this website. This is the one website where you make application to the whole country. It is run by the Swedish Higher Education Council. It's called universityadmissions.se. Here is where you will create your account. Here is where you will say which programs and which universities you want to apply to. Here is where you will upload all your documentation. This is your application website. This is where you get your admissions results. So it's a good thing for you to bookmark these pages, especially the last one, because the last one will tell you anything that is necessary for you as an applicant with a degree from Colombia. So here, Colombia is not about your nationality or your citizenship. Here, it is about where did you do your bachelor's degree. If you did your bachelor's degree in Colombia, then it is Colombia. If you did your bachelor's degree elsewhere, then that country's name has to go there. And then you will be able to see the page for that country. Remember, this page is not about citizenship. It is about where you did your bachelor's degree. There are some things that we try to bring up as, now we're going back to some more fluffy stuff. Up until now, it was very, very important and statistical type of information, factual information. Here we are talking about a little more value-based information. So we are a flat hierarchy in Sweden, and therefore Chalmers is a flat hierarchy as well. You get easy access to staff and research and the informal study culture. Teachers are very friendly, so on and so forth, just like Arturo was talking about. You get in touch with them very easily in the video, right? You have group projects. It's something that our students from other countries especially, they mark this as something very important because there's always group work. You're working together, whether it's an assignment, whether it's a project, you're always working together. Even your thesis, your master's thesis will be done in pairs. There's a very strong connection between education, research, and industry. We already saw the ranking for that. The International Student Barometer keeps showing us over and over again that our students are highly satisfied with the education that we offer at Chalmers. So this is a survey that is conducted, an international survey that is conducted of international students studying at different universities. And every year we come number one for satisfaction in education. We have a very international environment, as I was telling you, 60 plus nationalities on campus. We include 6 months of Swedish courses in your fees, so you don't have to pay for it. And then the municipality of Gothenburg will give you, again, free Swedish lessons, so you can go for those as well. So you can study Swedish throughout your 2 years here. Student housing is guaranteed for you if you are a fee-paying student. So that means that you do not need to worry about this at all. Even if you have a scholarship, either from us or through Colfuturo, or both, you might still not you will still be guaranteed accommodation. And by the way, you can only have one scholarship at any given point in time. So if you get a scholarship through us with Colfuturo, then you're not going to get another scholarship. So you will always only have one scholarship. And then, of course, we ensure that you have a strong social life, an orientation, and a friendly and safe environment on and off campus. As much as we can secure it, we do. Here is another video I wanted to go through. This shows you our facilities and goes through the campus and things like that. Okay. that was the end of that slide. And then I'm skipping to this one here. So what happens after study? So basically in the video, what you saw was a lot of different things. You saw labs, you saw libraries, you saw cars being made and tested, and lots of different things that you saw. It's very difficult for me to go through everything, but perhaps you remember the boy that was throwing the ball. And if you remember that, that's actually one of the things that we are pioneering here at Chalmers. Please excuse me for a second. So we're pioneering that at Chalmers. We have about 2,000 square meters of a maker space at Chalmers. And that maker space can be used for all sorts of things by all students, including you. So you can work on wood, you can work on metal, you can work on electronics, you can work on textile, you can work with rapid prototyping, you can work with robotics, you can work with electronics, as I was saying earlier. You can simulate sports and physical activity, which was what was happening when he was throwing the ball. We also have a room in which there is a giant treadmill, and the room is fitted with cameras, so you can put a person on that treadmill, give them all sorts of sensors on their body, and now you're able to completely record that person's movement when they're running or they're throwing a ball or whatever. And you can take all of that data, including the video, and throw it into a simulation. We have a simulation lab over there as well inside the makerspace. And then you could study that movement. You can decide and design different kinds of things for that sport. It could be a material for the shoe, or a type of clothing, or even a better way of throwing that ball. You could also turn all of this into a podcast, because we have a podcasting and a video casting studio in there. And so you can do literally anything and everything over there. So you're more than welcome to use that makerspace while you're at Chalmers. So that's just one of the things that I want to take out of that entire video, because if I have to do that for every single thing that was shown there, we need 4 hours of this webinar. But now I would like to just quickly go through the end of our presentation and also allow Natalia and Andres to make their presentations. At the end of your studies, you will be, of course, either looking for a job, or hopefully, maybe you want to do a PhD, or even better, maybe you want to become an entrepreneur and start your own company. You can do all of those things. Just make sure that you learn a bit of Swedish, because that becomes important when you live here after your studies. During your studies, it's going to be super easy to live here. In fact, it's going to be difficult to learn Swedish because people will speak English with you. So practice is going to be difficult, which means that you have to work extra hard to learn Swedish that way. But companies will sometimes ask you for it. And if you don't have it, it could be a reason for them to say no. So why take the chance? There is going to be an opportunity for you to collaborate with a company during your studies as far as your thesis is concerned. And that can lead to you getting a job over there. So please be aware of that and try to be proactive about it. As I told you, we are highly ranked when it comes to employability, and it's not easy to get a job, but it's not difficult either. I mean, the economy being the economy, it's going to be difficult at times. And maybe it'll get better, maybe it'll get more difficult. But the fact of the matter is that you can control the things that are supposed to be in your control, like learning language, having good grades, doing a thesis at a company, networking. Those are things that can help you. Then, of course, it can come down to also starting a PhD at Chalmers or becoming an entrepreneur. If you have a deep tech idea, we can fund it. For the alumni, I will simply skip this slide because Joanna, as awesome as she is, we would like, of course, to talk about the Colombian ambassadors, right? We have Natalia up top, we have Andres, and you can see all of these people that have studied at Chalmers. They studied in different years and they graduated therefore in different years, but they come from different universities in Colombia, and they studied programs at Chalmers and found jobs either in Sweden or abroad. It doesn't really matter but the fact of the matter is that they have jobs. So here I would like to invite Natalia to make her presentation. Hey, Natalia.
Hi. And now maybe we switch to Spanish. So, hola a los que están atendiendo el webinar. Bueno, aquí está el resumen de mi carrera desde que fui aceptada en Chalmers. Y disculpen si hablo despacio español, pero generalmente no uso español, entonces es por eso. Bueno, como decía Vilash, En este momento trabajo en Suecia, estoy en Estocolmo, a pesar de que Chalmers está en Gotemburgo, pero ahí fue donde empezó todo. Y si vamos recorriendo la línea del tiempo que les presento aquí, empezó en el 2021 cuando fue admitida al máster de Ecología Industrial en Chalmers, pero si vamos un poquito más atrás, no empieza como tal en el 2021, empieza antes, porque así como decía Vilash, la aplicación inicia desde el año anterior. Entonces, para que lo tengan súper presente, que es desde el año previo al año que se inician los estudios que se hace la aplicación. ¿Qué programa estudié en Chalmers? Como ya les dije, Ecología Industrial, y el año que me gradué en el 2023. ¿Por qué elegí a Chalmers? Bueno, aquí como ven, es solamente en el 2022 completé el primer año en Chalmers, y en el 2022 empecé el segundo año en la Universidad de Graz, que es en Austria. ¿Por qué hablo de la Universidad de Graz si estamos hablando de Chalmers? Porque el programa es un programa conjunto entre Chalmers y la Universidad de Graz, en el que estaba el primer año en Chalmers y el segundo año en Graz. Aún así, con Chalmers fue un proceso normal, como el que cualquier aplicante seguiría. Estaba inscrita en el máster de Ecología Industrial. Y para la tesis, para el tema de la tesis, regresé a Suecia. Y luego en el 2023, en el mismo 2023 que finalicé la tesis, tuve una oferta de empleo de SKF, que es una de las empresas con las que Chalmers colabora y hace trabajo en conjunto de investigación. Y me uní a ellos en el 2023, y en el 2024 el programa que me uní con ellos es un programa en el que hice 3 rotaciones en 3 países. Entonces, estando con mi empleo en Suecia, tuve el chance de estar en México, China e Italia. Esto fue durante el 2024. Y ya este año, en marzo del 2025, ya estoy en la posición final, que es Distributor and Service Specialist con SKF Recondoy, que es un producto en específico con el que trabajo. Pero volviendo a Chalmers, ¿por qué elegí el programa? Bueno, de Suecia, antes no sabía mucho. Cuando empecé a buscar de la universidad, no sabía mucho de Suecia, no sabía ni siquiera de Chalmers, pero al explorar como los programas que tenía, la oferta que tenía, la ciudad en la que está ubicada y la región, que es en el sur de Suecia, bueno, en el centro sur de Suecia, el enfoque en sostenibilidad y el programa de ecología industrial que está relacionado con sostenibilidad, pues era súper interesante estar como en una de las mejores arenas a nivel mundial en este tema. En cuanto a la tesis, ahí les muestro que en el 2023 escribí mi tesis de maestría con Scania, que es el fabricante de camiones. Creo que los pueden haber visto. Hay ventas de esos tipos de camiones en Colombia. Y el enfoque de la tesis fue un análisis de sostenibilidad, utilizando análisis de ciclo de vida, análisis de costo total y análisis de ciclo de vida desde la perspectiva social del uso de camiones eléctricos. Entonces, en resumen, ese fue la tesis, y trabajé dentro de Scania, es decir, era como un empleo normal para hacer la tesis, eh, con colegas, con un equipo, solamente que me tenía que enfocar en escribir la tesis. Acerca de qué es lo que trabajo actualmente. Bueno, después de la tesis, como Avilash decía, para el tema de empleabilidad, las aplicaciones siempre son con mucho tiempo, casi medio año antes. Entonces, para esta oferta de SKF, yo apliqué desde el 2022, o sea, en noviembre del 2022. Y la oferta me la realizaron cuando estaba haciendo la tesis. Y la acepté y firmé el contrato en marzo del 2023. Y inicié en agosto del 2023. Igual en el tema de la tesis se terminó más o menos en mayo, junio. También me hicieron una oferta de empleo para quedarme en el mismo equipo que estaba, pero ya había firmado el contrato con la otra empresa y pues no la podía aceptar. En cuanto al support, ¿cómo fue el sí, como el soporte de Chalmers para encontrar el empleo. Bueno, Chalmers tiene ferias de empleabilidad que las hacen cada año y la idea no es que voy a la feria y me consigo un empleo y ya al mes me contratan, no. Creo que, como se mencionó antes, el tema de hacer network, de tener una red de contactos desde el día que se llega a un lugar nuevo, es importante. No es solamente que me den un empleo, sino a quién conozco, quién me conoce y quién, además de conocerme, quién ha visto cómo trabajo. Creo que eso es súper importante. Y lo último, como el impacto que tengo hoy en lo que trabajo. Bueno, en cuanto a eso, como se mostró en la diapositiva anterior, yo soy egresada de la Universidad Nacional, estudio ingeniería ambiental y cuando realicé el máster conjunto Ecología Industrial en Chalmers, pueden buscarlo, explorarlo, es enfocado en sostenibilidad y enfoque específico economía circular. Y con lo que trabajo hoy es SKF Recondol, que es un producto para hacer uso circular del aceite, que es usar digámosle, un riñón para reservorios de aceite de máquinas hidráulicas y hacer la vida del aceite 10 20 veces más larga que lo habitual. Entonces creo que el impacto es grande, a pesar de que trabajo desde el desarrollo de negocios, aún así siento que en sostenibilidad el impacto es grande. Y, muchísimas de las cosas que aprendí en Chalmers las uso hoy. Entonces sí hay un impacto grande de lo que aprendí y lo que hago hoy.
Great. Thank you very much, Natalia. And now maybe Andres, if you have something to say as well.
Of course.
Thank you.
Hola a todos, mucho gusto. Mi nombre es Andrés Santos. También empecé en Chalmers en el 2021 como Natalia. Digamos que mi programa no era tan dinámico como el de Natalia en el sentido de que yo no tenía planeado hacer diferentes semestres en diferentes universidades. Fue completamente en Chalmers. Estuve enfocado también en trabajar medio tiempo, digamos que para equilibrar la balanza, porque igual el crédito beca es una muy buena herramienta, pero también es un compromiso. Entonces, bueno, ese digamos que fue el enfoque inicial. Pero bueno, el nombre del programa que estudié se llama Mobility Engineering. Ese tiene varios perfiles y hago la traducción directa. El perfil que escogí fue en aeroespacial y en inteligencia artificial. ¿Por qué escogí ese programa y por qué escogí Chalmers? Primero, porque Chalmers, así como nos mostró Avilash, está muy bien rankeado en general y específicamente en ingeniería mecánica, que es, digamos, mi bachelor o mi pregrado, es uno de los más altos en Europa. Entonces, bueno, digamos que ese fue el primer filtro. Luego empecé a buscar Suecia como, ¿cómo decirlo? Como futuro, mejor dicho, me disculpan, me perdí un poco de palabras ahí. ¿Cómo sería la empleabilidad en un futuro? Entonces empecé a buscar cómo era la industria en Suecia, específicamente en Gotemburgo. Como Ávila también lo mencionaba, Gotemburgo es industrialmente bastante fuerte, específicamente en ingeniería de vehículos. No solo, obviamente aquí tenemos Volvo, y bueno, Volvo Cars y Volvo Group, que es una discretización que normalmente se hace, pero también tenemos varias empresas aeroespaciales, que obviamente pues era el foco que tenía, y adicional, Suecia también tiene no aquí directamente en Gotemburgo, pero también tiene su propia empresa aeroespacial, que es principalmente orientada a defensa, que es SAAB o SAAB, y bueno, ellos tienen bastantes desarrollos aeroespaciales, en especial, pues digamos, en aviones de caza, que incluso creo que Colombia va a firmar compra de 18 unidades, si no me equivoco, del último modelo. Bueno, y bueno, ¿por qué escogí este programa en particular? Porque tenía estos 4 perfiles que les estaba contando. Tiene automotriz, tiene ferrocarriles, tiene marítimo y tiene aeroespacial. Y el perfil o el track aeroespacial estaba enfocado en diseño aeronáutico y en propulsión aeroespacial, que eran 2 temas que siempre pues, me habían interesado. Y otra cosa que es bastante importante, al menos de mi opinión, es que los cursos, o bueno, las materias obligatorias, el número no es muy alto. Entonces vos tenés, digamos, mucha facilidad de elegir qué materia vas a cursar, ¿cierto? Entonces se complementa fácil y la oferta era bastante, ¿cómo decirlo? Bastante... podríamos decir que era fácil escoger cualquier tipo de curso porque los ofrecían en todos los periodos de estudio y era fácil, digamos, como armar el horario. Bueno, en tema de la tesis, yo apliqué a varias tesis, escogí Heart Aerospace, que es una empresa que está desarrollando un avión híbrido eléctrico de 30 pasajeros. Como lo mencionaba Abel y Natalia, las tesis normalmente se desarrollan bueno, vos aplicas con un equipo o bueno, con un compañero. Yo le hice en ese caso con un compañero del programa de Turquía y básicamente lo que hicimos en la tesis fue generar una herramienta para optimizar un estilo de ala con un estilo de refuerzo que va hacia el fuselaje utilizando Python y software aerodinámico de open source, de media y baja fidelidad. Y bueno, eso digamos como hasta el punto de la tesis. Y ya en temas de carrera, lo que estoy en este momento, bueno, en este momento estoy trabajando en Heart Aerospace. El cargo es más o menos como ingeniero de ciencias del vuelo. Básicamente me encargo de la tecnología de estabilidad y control, que es lo que evalúa qué tan apto es el avión o el producto que estamos desarrollando en este momento para pues para volar, ¿cierto? En general, digamos muy a grosso modo. Y bueno, eso va a ser hasta agosto porque ahora la empresa decidió mover las oficinas a Estados Unidos y va a cerrar operaciones acá en Suecia. Entonces, después de eso voy a continuar buscando trabajo. ¿Cómo está conectado, digamos, lo que estoy haciendo en este momento con lo que estudié en Chalmers? Básicamente está bastante conectado porque, como les comenté, estoy encargado de estabilidad y control, entonces digamos que se reduce a un modelo de 6 grados de libertad, donde evaluamos toda la dinámica de vuelo y básicamente incluimos todo lo que es dinámica vehicular, todo lo que es aerodinámica, el desempeño del avión, el modelamiento de la propulsión, el modelamiento de las fuerzas de contacto y bueno, y otros ítems. Entonces, básicamente, muy buena parte de lo que estudié ha sido relevante pues para esta experiencia laboral en la que estoy en este momento. Es otro punto que Natalia y Ávila les tocaron y es cómo Chalmers me ayudó a conseguir el trabajo. Bueno, pues como les mencioné, hice la tesis de maestría aquí y luego me hicieron una oferta laboral. Entonces, pues obviamente el primer contacto fue entre compañía y universidad y bueno, ya como lo mencionaba Ana y Natalia también, simplemente ellos ya conocen tu forma de trabajar, conocen tu enfoque, conocen, digamos, sí, como tu estilo de entrega o tu estilo de trabajo, entonces pues para ellos es mucho más simple darte sí, entregarte una oferta laboral pues cuando te conocen y ya saben cómo trabajas y si te acoplas también al equipo de trabajo. Otra cosa que es bastante importante que lo mencionaba Natalia, el networking. Por ejemplo, ahora que termine en Harvard, se puede empezar en otra empresa. Digamos que todavía no he firmado contrato, pero una de las grandes ayudas que tuve fue un ex compañero de Hart que está trabajando en esa empresa y bueno, me contactó con su manager y tuvimos una entrevista y bueno, le gustó mi perfil y posiblemente firmemos. Y bueno, y para lo último, el último punto que también mencionaba Natalia es cuál es el impacto que crees que tu trabajo está haciendo por la sociedad y por el mundo. En este caso, con Heart Aerospace, fue una experiencia bastante bonita porque tuve la oportunidad de trabajar con gente, éramos apenas 110 personas, pero al menos al final, y teníamos 25 nacionalidades y tenemos gente que tenía mucha experiencia en desarrollo aeroespacial y bueno, fue bastante, sí, fue bastante gratificante, aprendí mucho y lo más importante es que estas personas siempre estaban orientadas a tratar de desarrollar el mejor producto posible para aportar a la disminución de emisiones desde la aviación regional. Básicamente este avión que está desarrollando HART es un avión de corto rango. Normalmente no es los que volamos Boeing, Airbus, que es como lo más convencional. Nosotros creo que al menos en Medellín le decimos charter, no sé si en Colombia en general, es un avión de ese estilo, de 30 pasajeros, y bueno, eso es básicamente. I think that's it. Avilash, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Andres. And that brings us basically to the end of our presentation. This is the more or less the very last slide, because the next slide is just a logo. I'd like to thank everyone for having joined the webinar, and we are open for questions. Please follow us on our social media, and that's my email address and the email address of our study account. So if you want to ask questions, my recommendation is that you send it to the study email address. That way you are guaranteed an answer. If you send it to me, I have other things sometimes that takes my attention and I might not be able to answer you, but I will do my best. So you can, of course, choose to send it to me as well. Karen, we are open for questions.
Yes, Avilash, Andres, Natalia, thank you so much for your presentation and for all the valuable information that you give us today. So, well, we don't have a lot of questions right now, but okay, Avilash, how far in advance should an international student arrive before his or her study period?
Before his or her study period, I think you can arrive about a month, I think, at the most. So that is a number, that's a date that is set by the Swedish Migration Agency. So we don't really have a lot of freedom in that subject. As far as I know, you're allowed to arrive up to a month ahead of your studies.
Okay, perfect. And that question is for Andres and Natalia, and is what is suddenly the strongest change you have seen in the education systems of Colombia and Sweden that students should be aware of? If you want, you can answer that in Spanish or in English. It's up to you, Natalia.
Ay. Yo creo que es difícil porque en mi caso yo estudié, luego trabajé 2 años en Colombia y luego volví a estudiar. Entonces no siempre es fácil volver a tomar el ritmo de ser estudiante y tener como fechas fijas y como que si lo haces o no lo haces no es el fin del mundo como podría ser en un trabajo. Entonces es volver a eso, pero a la vez yo siento que la diferencia más grande en tema del estudio era qué tan comprometidos estaban los estudiantes a mi alrededor con el estudio. Es decir, en Colombia a veces me pasaba como que hay personas muy comprometidas y hay personas cero comprometidas, pero acá en general era como el 95% estaba súper comprometida. Entonces, siento que esa es una de las diferencias más grandes, más que el study period y más que los profesores en general. Sentía que sí, esa era una gran diferencia.
Okay, Natalia, thank you. Andrés?
Okay, para complementar, estoy de acuerdo con lo que dice Natalia. En general, es difícil encontrar pues, alguien que no esté completamente comprometido. Pero ya hablando un poquito más de la estructura como tal, yo creo que lo más difícil, al menos del estilo que nosotros tenemos en Colombia, es los exámenes que tenemos, normalmente, al menos en la gran mayoría de cursos. Por ejemplo, bueno, materias. Por ejemplo, un examen final, a comparación de los 3 o 2 parciales que teníamos en Colombia, es un cambio bastante fuerte. Y sobre todo porque al final, bueno, aquí tenemos el study period, que son solamente dos cursos por periodo de estudio, pero igual normalmente, si tienes que preparar 2 exámenes, la cantidad de temas que tienes que preparar es difícil, digamos, acostumbrarte porque ya venís con una estructura de parciales, ya tenés unos tiempos estimados, normalmente es una semana y media antes de los parciales, pero aquí tenés 2 exámenes finales con todos los temarios que tuviste en ese par de meses, y bueno, dependiendo de la materia, obviamente va a ser más difícil o no. Ese sería uno. Otro cambio importante, otra diferencia importante es ¿cómo decirlo? La escala de calificación. Por ejemplo, en Colombia normalmente tenemos de 1 a 5, bueno, de 0 a 5, no sé si ha cambiado. Aquí numéricamente es algo similar, pero digamos que la calificación como tal, no, por ejemplo, si vos sacas un 82% en Colombia, vas a sacar un 4.1, por ejemplo, ¿cierto? en Suecia vas a sacar 5. Normalmente la escala va, si vas entre el 0 y el 40%, obviamente en algunas materias cambia, pero es digamos como la regla general. Entonces entre el 0 y el 40 sacas 3, que es perdón, por debajo de 3 que no pasas, entre 40 y 60 es 3, entre 60 y 80 es 4 y entre 80 y 100 es 5. Esas es digamos como en general las dos más grandes diferencias que yo puedo decir. Obviamente también, otro punto ahí, hay cursos también que no hacen exámenes, que también es simplemente con assignments o trabajos. Entonces, en esos cursos normalmente, en caso tal de que no pases los assignments, tenés que repetir el curso. Mientras que si es un curso que solamente se evalúa por exámenes, ese examen, así sea que digamos que no lo pasé la primera vez, no te genera la obligación de tomar el curso de nuevo, sino como lo decía Avilash, pues simplemente puedes inscribirte para el examen y presentarlo otra vez y bueno, ya ahí pasas y no tenés, digamos, ningún inconveniente adicional, además de tener que volver a estudiar por el examen, obviamente. Yo creo que sería eso.
Perfecto. Bueno, muchas gracias, Andrés y Natalia. Well, Abhilash, thank you so much again for this valuable presentation for all of us, for your time and disposition also. So I really hope to have more opportunities to share this information to all the Colombian students.
Wonderful. Thank you very much as well to you and to Colfuturo. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present to all these students. And I would like to make sure that I send out a PDF of this presentation. I have actually quite a few number of slides that I haven't shown that include worksheets and things like that can be useful for an application process. So we'll see if we can make everything available, but at least the presentation that I showed today, I'd like to make sure. So I'll send you the email and then you can forward it to everybody that has registered and attended today.
Thank you so much, Abhilash. Gracias, Andrés y Natalia, que estén muy bien. Y bueno, a todos nuestros asistentes también agradecerles por su participación y su interés en Chalmers University of Technology. Como lo mencionó Abhilash, les estaremos enviando próximamente la grabación de la sesión junto con la presentación en PDF para que puedan retomar toda la información que consideren. Muchas gracias a todos y feliz tarde. Bye, Abhilash. Thank you. Chao, Andrés y Natalia.
Bye.
Chao.